I chose to do my presentation on learning disabilities. I chose this topic because I find it to be very interesting and I thought that it would provide interesting information to others who are curious about learning disabilities. I'd like to start off my presentation by talking about some myths about learning disabilities. Some people believe that learning disabilities are caused by poor diet, which is not true. Some people believe that individuals with learning disabilities have low intelligence, and this is also not true. People with learning disabilities actually have an average or above average intelligence. Another myth about learning disabilities is that they can be cured. Learning disabilities are lifelong, although people with learning disabilities can still succeed in life, work, and school. Some people believe that only children have learning disabilities, and like I've just stated, learning disabilities are lifelong, so therefore individuals with these disabilities will carry them into adult life. And the last of the myths is that watching too much television causes learning disabilities, and this is false as well. There are 10 different types of learning disabilities. They are as follows: dyslexia, dyscalculia, dysgraphia, dyspraxia, executive functioning, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, giftedness, auditory processing disorders, autism spectrum disorders, and visual processing disorders. So what are learning disabilities? They're a group of disorders that negatively impact the learning experience of an individual. They have the capability to affect an individual's ability to think, speak, listen, write, compute, or spell. Children with learning disabilities represent 41% of all students receiving special education. And as of today, 2.4 million students have been diagnosed with learning disabilities and are receiving special education services in school. Although the number of school-age students identified with learning disabilities has seen a steady decline in the past 10 years. The first learning disability that I'm going to talk about is dyslexia. Dyslexia is a difficulty with learning to read fluently and with accurate comprehension despite normal or above average intelligence. Dyslexia is the most common type of learning disability diagnosed in people. It's neurological and often genetic. It has three subtypes, which are auditory, visual, and attentional. Auditory dyslexia is classified as having difficulty processing sounds of letters or groups of letters. It is as if multiple sounds may be fused as a singular sound, and the sounds may also be reversed or jumbled. Visual dyslexia slows reading speed. It involves visual problems involving motor or missing information, such as letters. The individual could also mix up letters, although they are present. Attentional dyslexia causes an impairment of reading words in sentences and causes many words to be visible at the same time. It is typically correlated with damage to the left parietal lobe. The symptoms of dyslexia are delays in speech, letter reversal or mirror writing, difficulty knowing left from right in directions, and being easily distracted by background noise. The next disability is dyscalculia. Dyscalculia is a difficulty in learning or comprehending arithmetic. Individuals with this learning disability have a difficulty in understanding numbers, learning how to manipulate numbers, and learning math facts. This can occur in people from across the entire IQ range. It is often associated with difficulties with time, measurement, and spatial reasoning. It can result from lesions on the brain, deficits in working memory, and a disturbance in short-term memory. It can affect people differently at different stages of their lives. Dyscalculia affects 1 in 20 individuals, and about 3 and 6% of the population in the United States has it. Another learning disability is dysgraphia. Dysgraphia is a deficiency in the ability to write. This is mostly in terms of handwriting, but it can also be seen in coherence. It is a transcription disability, and this is because dysgraphia is a writing disorder that is associated with impaired handwriting, orthographic coding, and finger sequencing. The individuals with dysgraphia can write on some level, though. These individuals may experience difficulty with other fine motor skills. There are a few symptoms associated with dysgraphia, which are cramping of fingers while writing short entries, excessive erasures, inefficient speed of copying, referring heavily on vision to write, and poor legibility. Although the prevalence of dysgraphia is unknown, it is estimated that 5 to 20% of children demonstrate some form of deficient writing behavior. Dysgraphia is thought to have a few causes. These are comprehension difficulties within language, attention problems, spatial ordering issues, sequential ordering problems, and memory deficiencies. The next learning disability is dyspraxia. Dyspraxia is also known as developmental coordination disorder. It can affect planning and movements and coordination. This could be the result of brain messages not being accurately transmitted to the body. Dyspraxia is also associated with problems in the working memory. The symptoms of dyspraxia are difficulties in remembering instructions, difficulty organizing one's time and remembering deadlines, losing objects more often than usual, and problems with tasks that require remembering several steps in a sequence. It is an inability to take advantage of voluntary motor abilities effectively in all aspects of life. It affects 6% of people, but it has also been said to be a hidden problem, so it's not concrete if only 6% of people are affected by this. The next learning disability is executive functioning. This refers to a set of mental skills that are coordinated in the brain's frontal lobe. Individuals with this have an inability to manage time and attention, plan and organize, switch their focuses, curb inappropriate speech or behaviors, and remember details. Executive functioning actually has two categories, which are organization and regulation. Some strategies to help individuals with executive functioning learning disabilities are managing time, managing space and materials, and managing work. This disability can run in families and can be seen in people of any age. Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, is another learning disability. ADHD is not only one of the most common neurobehavioral disorders, but is one of the most common childhood disorders. ADHD can continue into adolescence and then continue all the way into adulthood. The symptoms of ADHD are having a difficulty staying focused and paying attention, difficulty controlling behavior, and hyperactivity. ADHD has 3 subtypes, and these are hyperactivity, impulsive, inattentive, and a combination of hyperactivity and inattentive. Although the names of these subtypes tend to explain themselves. Giftedness is said to be another learning disability, although it is not a disability on its own. Giftedness is associated with other learning disabilities. Some of the common attributes of a gifted child with a learning disability are excellent long-term memory, highly creative, imaginative, and insightful, poor short-term memory, illegible handwriting, and they perform poorly on timed tests, and they're known as an underachiever. Although giftedness can be seen with any other learning disability, it is mostly commonly seen with ADHD. The next learning disability is auditory processing disorder. It is also known as hearing impairment. This is a loss that prevents a person from totally receiving sounds through the ear. There are 4 types of auditory processing disorders, and they are conductive, sensorineural, mixed, and central. These all can result from the malfunctioning of the outer ear, ear canal, or middle ear structures, also fluid in the middle ear infections, or allergies. It is estimated to affect 2 to 3% of children, and it affects more boys than girls. This disorder is hereditary and can be resulted from birth-related factors. Another learning disability is autism spectrum disorders. These are a group of complex developmental disorders of brain development. They are characterized by difficulties in social interactions, verbal and nonverbal communication, and repetitive behaviors. Although there is no one single cause for autism spectrum disorders, it is generally accepted that it is caused by abnormalities in brain structure, and there's also a theory that the disorder has a genetic basis. There are multiple symptoms for autism spectrum disorders. They are verbal and nonverbal communication, which has significantly impacted the person's life. They struggle with social skills. They struggle with empathizing with others. They have repetitive activities. They're resistant to change, and they develop strong habits and compulsive routines. About 1 in 68 children have been identified with autism spectrum disorders, and it is also almost 5 times more common among boys than in girls. The last learning disability is visual processing disorders. There are many different types of visual processing disorders. They are visual discrimination, visual figure ground discrimination, visual sequencing, visual motor processing, visual memory, and visual closure. Visual discrimination is involved with difficulties noticing differences or similarities between objects. Visual figure ground discrimination is involved with difficulties seeing an image with a completed background. Visual sequencing is involved with difficulties staying in the right place when reading, reversing, or misreading letters, numbers, or words. Visual motor processing is involved with difficulties writing within lines and copying from the board in a classroom. Visual memory is involved with difficulties with reading comprehension, remembering phone numbers, spelling of familiar words with irregular spelling. And visual closure is involved with difficulties identifying a word with a missing letter and recognizing a face with one feature. So now that you know more about learning disabilities, I hope that you're able to use this information to help others and understand them in a more appreciative way.